I filled out my 2024 NCAA volleyball bracket. Let's go over my picks. FYI, I'm going to make a couple more brackets because of how much parity there is this year. I think there are so many teams that can make it to the national semifinals and win it all. So I'll make a riskier bracket. But let's start with the top left quarter of the bracket, Pitt's quarter. Lots of fun first round matchups. Keep your eye on TCU and Hawaii. 2 stars in Kaylin Alexander and Melanie Parra. I went with TCU here. In the second round, I'm hype for Kentucky versus Minnesota. Such a great matchup with comparable talent on both sides. I went with the Gophers advancing to take on SMU and Pitt taking down Oregon, which will be a challenge with Mimi Collier and crew. And then a rematch between SMU and Pitt. The only team to have beat Pitt this season will stand in their way of making it back to the national semifinals. But with how dominant Pitt has been this year and that on the line, I don't think anyone is stopping the Panthers from making it to Louisville. In Louisville's quarter, Florida versus NC State is an interesting first round matchup. I have the Gators, and then I have Washington over LMU for an upset. And then I have the Gators going on a bit of a tear here in the tournament. An upset pick over Kansas. I feel like coming off of 2 losses to end the season, they could be extra motivated. Having a player like Kennedy Martin with the ability to go off for 30 plus kills helps. So I have them making it to face Stanford. Louisville, I have making it past Purdue, though I think that'll be a really fun matchup. But with how good Louisville's block and backcourt defense has been, I think they come out on top of that one for a rematch with Stanford. Now, I almost picked the Cardinal here. Stanford has looked so good at the end of the season and just took down Louisville, who lost 2 in a row to end the regular season. But I'm adding in the extra motivation Louisville will have of getting to play the championship at home. Anna DeBeer and Elena Scott's last season. With that extra fire, I'm picking Louisville to advance to the semis. All right, top right, Penn State's quarter. I have an upset pick with FGCU over Marquette. I have Texas and Creighton advancing to face each other for a really fun matchup. Nora Sis and Kendra Waite versus Maddie Skinner and crew. But I know how Skinner can heat up in the postseason. Plus, I think Texas is just now reaching their potential since switching back to a 5-1 and really starting to gel and look like a different team over halfway through the season. So I am not going to pick against Texas here. And I have them taking on Penn State in the regional final. This was probably my toughest pick. I think either team can win this one, but I'm going to go with Penn State here. Seeing them against Nebraska win in serve receive. They also got it done even without Jess Merzick going off, just showed their depth and grit. This is a team that's playing for a lot right now, and I think they come together to make it back to the national semifinals. And finally, the bottom right quarter, I have an upset pick with Dayton upsetting Baylor. Lexi Almodovar in her last season and coming off of a disappointing loss in their conference championship. Keep your eye on Georgia Tech versus Wisconsin. That could be a good one. But I have Wisconsin advancing to face Arizona State. The reason I picked the Badgers here is just the experience on the big stage that a lot of their players like Sarah Franklin, Anna Smrek bring. But ASU definitely has the talent to get that win. I ultimately have Nebraska versus Wisconsin for a third rematch. This is tough to beat a team 3 times, but in Devaney Center, I think the Huskers come out on top. So I know what you're thinking. It's a chalk Final Four. I wanted to mix it up, and we likely will get an upset here, but these were the teams I felt most confident in from watching them all season. The biggest battle of all was Pitt versus Nebraska for me to win the title, and I changed my answer on this about 100 times. Both have extra motivation. I mean, Nebraska coming off of losing the title game, they went through a lot together last offseason. Lexi Merritt in her last season certainly deserved to win a title, and I would love to see those seniors accomplish it. But Pitt too, they've been to the national semifinals for 3 seasons now in a row without advancing to the title game. Olivia Babcock and Tori Stafford are no longer freshmen on that stage. They've grown so much, and this Pitt team really doesn't have any flaws, and they have been on almost this entire season. Leads the country in hit percentage and opponent hit percentage. It's going to be hard to beat a team like this that has not one, but multiple dominant hitters on both pins. I'm going with Pitt to win it all in this bracket. So excited for the tournament. I would love to see all of your brackets, so make sure to make your picks before brackets lock and games start this Thursday.